Welcome to episode 114 of Nobody Special.
On this episode, we talk about Ahmaud Arbery and justice.
The Gospel Outpost presents Nobody Special. Hey everyone, welcome to Nobody Special, two nobodies talking about the somebody who matters. I'm Danny, the host and aspiring marathon runner of Nobody Special.
And I'm Caleb, we are the host of Nobody Special. This is a podcast where two generations of people talk about God, pop culture, politics, and everything in between, all while not taking any of it too seriously.
Oh,
Here
Caleb.
we are.
Hello.
Hello.
Caleb, you might notice, and if people are turning into our YouTube version of our podcast,
Right.
you might notice that I'm wearing just an obnoxiously green shirt.
Yes.
Yes.
You look like Shrek with
Okay.
the saturation turned up a little bit.
None of that is a compliment. All right.
I almost made a joke with the Hulk, but that one would have been bad, and so I didn't say it.
So,
but it would have been more complimenting to your physique.
I ran. Okay.
This is going downhill.
So
Oh god.
Given the nature, how do I even say this? I participated in my first virtual 5K.
Nice.
The May the 4th run, and I got a shirt, and I ran 3.11 miles.
Right.
In a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
That was not fast, but it was good for me. And I'm...
Hold on. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
just to pause to clarify something. Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
but
you're good.
5K, I'm guessing that's talking about kilometers.
Yes.
Okay, and so people translate it to miles. Why not just switch it? Why don't we... I'm still annoyed with us not being on the metric system. But why don't you measure it as a kilometer instead of translating it to miles?
I did, actually.
Good.
I measured mine in 5K.
Why doesn't everyone else do it?
Because it's 3.11 miles. I don't know. It's just how we...
I know.
That's
just annoying.
a massive societal... Why aren't we using the metrics? I ran a 5K!
Yes, sorry.
I ran a 5K.
Getting back on topic.
I ran a 5K, and I think my heel exploded.
Yes.
So normally, like, I'm not the fastest or best runner. And a virtual 5K is anybody can do it. You can do it over a period of time. The idea is just get out there, stay active, and participate, and do a certain amount of distance in a certain time, kind of a frame of a month or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's been cool because it's encouraged people to get in shape that aren't going to go to a race at 6 a.m. in the morning and aren't going to do that because they can do it on their time on different days and still participate. And actually the communities that do it are very encouraging of people.
Nice.
There have been people faster, like really faster than me, and still like, oh, my time's so slow, and I'm like, you're chop. you're doing fine there.
Yeah.
And other people going, oh, this is my first 5K ever, and I did it, and I'm so proud. And it's just like, it's a really cool community, but my heel, the last 1,000 meters, I limped through.
Yeah.
And I still hurt. This was like about 4 days ago. My heel still hurts.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to have sympathy for you, but I just have to point out also your mistakes, Danny, because he ran on his foot again after that, and not even
tried to run on my
also
foot.
Another time after
that. No, I went
that.
for a walk. The walk was fine. The run was not. I thought I was better.
Danny is bad with medical issues.
No,
I've been convincing him to go to the doctor for the past 2 years.
On my 5K, I had a specific time I wanted to be under. And if I kept up a quasi-fast pace during that final 1,000, I was going to make that time. And I was like, this is going to hurt, but I'm not coming above my target time. Darn it. So that probably wasn't the smartest option.
It's not.
But I mean this from the bottom of my heart, cannot be stopped. That's what's up.
Wow. That is the dumbest thing I've ever.
Yeah, can't be killed. No, like it was pretty cool though. I signed up for 2 more, and I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, good job.
You know, try to get back in
Danny
shape.
even got me to sign up for one, which I'm on the waiting list.
So
that may or may not be intentional.
That is the same as not being signed up. Yeah. So yeah, so no, I did the May the 4th.
Yeah,
I'm
you
doing
got Baby Yoda.
The Crush Corona. Next, proceeds to that go towards something. Wow, that sounds just really insensitive when I forget who they're going to. First responders of some sorts, and I don't remember who or where, but it's going towards a good cause. And then I'm signing up for the 4th of July one, which you should also sign up for, but whatever. And just kind of, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. It's just kind of like, I'm a part of a group, and it's a fun thing to do. It kind of increased because quarantine. People can still go on jogs, but it's hard to congregate together. And also, I have no interest in going to a 5K.
With actual people?
Right, because it's like, I know I'm not the fastest person out there. So
is it really a competition? I've always thought that it was just people running for a cause.
No.
And that there was no competition.
No. There are plenty that don't have causes and are competitions. Yeah, man. Yeah. Actually, Jacksonville, they have a couple that the times they tend to be they're qualifiers for Boston Marathon. Actually, they have a couple in Jacksonville that a person can qualify for them. And there's certain things you can and can't do during these in order to qualify. So like, as in headphones, can't have them.
Really?
Yeah.
That.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be able to run.
Right. Yeah. Like, nope, not gonna happen.
What am I supposed to do? Think about my pain and agony
with my own thoughts. That sounds horrible. Yeah.
Gosh. But like the Donna, which not everyone in our audience would know about this, but it's a run here in Jacksonville for breast cancer, I believe. Like, is
breast cancer awareness? Yeah. For
is that a race?
Susan B. Komen Foundation or something like that.
Is that a race?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Interesting.
That's actually,
I know
think
the Gate
that's
River Run
one of the Gate and that, I think, are the 2 qualifiers, or they can count towards that or something. I don't know, but it's an actual, it's a competition. So yeah, it's not just people donating to charity, because I've found I can donate to charity without running 5K, and that I tend to enjoy that more. So you know, find a good cause, donate it. Like, how much do I have to give to not run? I'll give that amount.
Yeah.
Because I like your cause, but I hate running. No, but I'm starting to get into it. I'm starting to get back in shape. Trying to stay active during quarantine times and just get out there and do it. But yeah.
See, Danny is the opposite of me. I have, and I don't want to admit this, but I've been really into watching New Girl and getting Zaxby's and just sitting in my car and eating Zaxby's while watching New Girl for my lunch break.
I wasn't going to bring those up, but since we're here...
And I might as well just bring it a step further.
Yeah.
You know how people are calling it, like, the Quarantine 15? Mm-hmm. Have you heard of that?
The Corn 15, yeah.
I am glad to admit, not really, but I have gained 15 pounds.
Nice.
I am officially part of the club. But
is it a club? I don't know. So
I think so. Let's just say it is.
I think I could probably lose 3 pounds after the next haircut, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm ready for a haircut.
Not that I think the I really don't want to get into this. Not that I think the economy should open up just so people can get haircuts. For Pete's sake, please have some compassion on
funny,
people.
Yeah.
Wow, I really don't want to get into that. So
let's move on.
We're gonna move on.
Something. Oops, that's not much better.
Much worse. No.
Yeah.
So
much worse.
All right. So current events, our podcast. And I'm only prefacing this because, we try and find the joy in things and try and find God in things, and that means occasionally we dive into pop culture, politics, everything in between, to ask a question: where is God in this, and how can Christians be Christ in this case. So this case blew up over the past couple of days of Ahmaud Arbery. This in February 23rd. Ahmaud Arbery, it was just jogging through a neighborhood, got stopped by a couple of people that ended up in his death. Now, at the time, they didn't have a ton of evidence open, and they didn't prosecute the people that killed him. However, they claimed it was on the under the jurisdiction of a citizen's arrest, that they were trying to stop and question him about a string of burglaries and types of things going on. And a couple days ago, some cell phone kind of footage or dash cam of a person in a car, actually a radio station got a hold of it from an anonymous kind of a source, put it on their website, and it's been spread all over the place.
Yep.
Because it appears as if it's just a straight up murder. Because this man, Ahmaud Arbery, is just jogging through a neighborhood. It was 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and they chased him down in a truck. It was 2 armed people against 1 man jogging down the street, and they were screaming at him to stop and chased him down a few times in a few different intersections. And it's appearing at this point that there was some kind of cover-up as a component of this, and partially because the people that killed Ahmaud, the guy's dad is a kind of a former district attorney investigator.
Right.
And so it's appearing as if there was some kind of cover-up of this thing that's gone on for about 2 months now. And it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. This one sucks. This sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to say sucks, especially that many times in a row, but
That's your rule, too.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any time to break it, it's with
Yeah.
that.
There's a 41 kind of second clip, and about 10 kind of seconds of that are the camera's pointed at another thing. But even from that, it looks pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it and just got this eerie feeling about it.
Yeah.
There's just nothing. Like, he's literally just jogging.
Right.
And
that was actually the second time they met him in an intersection. He actually jogged around him. The first time they chased him to a next time, got out of the car, and that was part of the differences, because now they're able to tell the differences in things they called in. They said that they tried to talk to him through the car, like, no, he was out and had his gun. They were screaming at him to stop. Now, if a guy's just jogging, he is under no illegal kind of impetus to stop and talk to another person.
Right, yeah.
So the man is just jogging.
Especially someone who's not even I know he was involved in law enforcement, but neither of them are anymore.
Didn't have a badge, didn't kind of declare or even pretend to be that he's a civilian. And also, you don't have to stop if a man is holding a shotgun to talk to him. Yeah. Just like, so, keep running. Understandably, the black community is scared, is fearful, as they watched a video of a man being gunned down just going on a jog, and then they watched as kind of a system protected the guys that gunned him down, and then made up details of the entire thing. And then on top of that, they did call in the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, but to the context of trying to figure out where the radio station got the footage from. So not even the actual killing. I'm trying to not say a murder because that's a legal term, and they're starting to check into it now, but still. The African American community, they're scared, they're angry. The oh, this kid's mom is upset. This guy was a good guy in the community. He had actually jogged in that area multiple times, stopped to play basketball with the kids in the area, and now because the man, quote, matched a description of a string of burglaries that can't be, I can't think of the term, can't be corroborated by police reports. So if there are a string of robberies and vandalisms, if I'm understanding the research I've done on it, no one did anything or called the police at all.
I mean, and even if he was guilty of this, still would be straight up wrong. You know, like, what happens?
Right.
And that's what's crazy about this whole thing. It's like, how was it? You said 2 months, right?
February 23rd, yeah. So like, March, April, and some change.
Was this, like, I just don't get it, you know? It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. Now, I mean, so we've, over the past probably 5 years, we've watched a few of these cases come up throughout history, or not throughout history, but throughout the news. They've come up, and sorry, this is a bit of a hot take too. We've a few of these have come up. A few of them they've kind of felt off as people are bringing them up. You kind of like, well, that seems strange that they just did that, and then, you know, a few people, they've made the statements. So you got to wait on more evidence on that kind of thing, and I feel personally, and it's just me kind of thinking through this, that okay, that 2 months we waited for more evidence and now have pretty clear video. Now we have that more evidence, and we should be saying more and calling attention to this,
right?
Because it's jacked up.
Yeah.
Because he's jogging in broad daylight.
Right.
So if that's a crime, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I think this is that case of, hey, you know, an injustice has occurred, and we need to get behind our community at this point, just because that's not okay. And the murder's bad, and the cover-up's even worse, and all that, if it is a cover-up. And yeah, I don't know. It's... Yeah, I'm still kind of processing it a little bit. Right.
I mean, it's just crazy to me that, like, stuff like this still slips under the radar.
Right.
And I mean, like, I don't, you know, I'm not crazy smart or anything, but, like, it's just frustrating to see, and, like, and especially, I feel like for everyone, you know, like, this is the one time where, why it's so mind-boggling to me, the one time where everyone is like, yeah, no, this is straight up wrong. Like, there's no controversy about it. It's just straight up. Right. Yeah, like, what are we doing, guys?
Right.
Like, come on.
Right.
And so it's heartbreaking. I mean,
there have been calls for people to call into a few different places. The Georgia lawmakers of some kind or something. I'll be sure and drop those in the notes. But this is the time to be a bit active in this case, because I mean, this is a person's child, just a high schooler or a younger person, just, you know, this person's child that they were gunned down because he tried to protect himself from 2 men, aggressive, trying to get him to stop, chasing him with guns through the neighborhood that he's jogging through, that he's been through multiple times. This ain't right. This isn't how to treat people. This isn't the way to do that. And the justice, this is one of those cases that if this is all true, then the system is very broken. And this is one of those times that we all need to be standing together on this. I mean, I'm a personal fan of Ben Shapiro, and during all of his things, he's held very consistent. If a thing is a racist and there's evidence of it being a racist, we all need to get behind that thing as a racist. And I think this is one of those times. I mean,
Yeah.
even on the 911 call after they shot him, the operator was trying to figure out, like, but what was he doing? Was he just there? And they're like, he's shot. Like, yeah, but what was he doing? Why is he shot? And they didn't really have an answer for that at all.
Yeah. It's so clear. You know, it's just...
Mm-hmm.
I don't... Yeah,
Right.
I just don't get it. I mean, and I think that, yeah, like, this is the time to make things right. And for once,
Mm-hmm.
like, to have unity in something, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, like, there's not much varying views, like,
Right.
from what I've seen and heard.
Right.
Like, we're all pretty much on the same, you know,
Right.
side on this.
Right.
Rightfully so. I mean, like, so let's rally together
Yeah.
and, you know, try and make a difference.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm trying to be as fair as I can in this because I try and hold some consistent kind of views, but, like, you know, this is based on a 41 kind of second dash cam footage. There could be more circumstances, but even if there aren't, this still appears pretty bad, because it isn't the job of just an average everyday person to go and make a citizen's arrest. That's not even... I did, to be honest, didn't even know that was a thing.
Really?
Or, like, I knew it was a term. I didn't think it applied to lethal force. Now, I know they... I mean, like, the fact that they played it was a citizen's arrest. For no crime, though. Like, that was part of the thing. And the fact that they grabbed their gun because they weren't positive if he's armed, to chase him down, to talk to him, just the whole thing feels wrong. And they're trying to claim that this is a guy they have on cam, on different cams and all that, from you know, snooping, trespassing, this kind of stuff. But even if that's true, even if it was trespassing, all those things on construction sites, even if that's true, the punishment does not fit that crime at all.
Yeah, no. They're not the ones to do that either.
Yeah. And then the fact that no arrests are made, no detention, no anything, and that could have something to do with the fact that it's a child of the former DA's investigator. It just, the whole thing is like, to appear above board, that DA needed to have gone, I need to call somebody else in, because if this is going to... if they actually are in the clear, then I need to not touch this because of clear, evident bias. And the fact that the DA skipped that, but at this point is declining to do anything, is just kind of shady.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I
know there's like a number you can call or something, right?
Yeah, I'll find it and put it in the description. But
yeah.
I mean, I personally, I'm watching my brothers and sisters in Christ that come out of an African American background in mourning about this. And I think this is one of those times that, to extend the gospel of grace, to extend the gospel, means I have to weep with a community that's weeping, and actually, even if I don't agree on everything they're trying to say, I need to still take the time to just be there with them, even if it's just to emotionally be there and weep with them, because this is a rough kind of situation.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I to be honest, it stinks, but you know, Christ has called us to love all people, and that includes the father and son that shot this kid.
Right.
And it's hard, you know, because it's not like I'm siding with him, you know.
Right.
But, you know, I think back to I don't know what verse it is, but it's when the lady who committed adultery was being stoned.
Yeah.
And not being stoned, but was about to, and, Jesus
Right.
sits down, draws in the sand,
Right.
comes up with a brilliant one-liner.
Yeah.
And,
Anyone
says...
here without sin can throw the first stone. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we are here to not, side with those people, but understand that justice is a thing, and consequences on earth need to happen for people to have a right view of things. And I'm not saying that it's difficult. Like, I still, we have some verses that we're going to read, but, like, they need justices for them to go to jail. I'm not saying they need to die, but I believe that they need to have punishment for what they did.
Right. Now, like, all right, I'm trying to be as fair as I can through this thing, but also I'm kind of upset. So
right.
I have a 41 kind of second dash cam video. I think our first step is y'all got to investigate this. I mean, that is the first step in this, and
not who recorded the video.
Yeah. Not just kind of go like, well, I'm sure it was justified. Well, okay. There's enough people staring at this going, and enough attorneys staring at it going like, yeah, this ain't cool. So that it's time to investigate it. It's time to open up a case, and frankly, I don't think anybody in the state of Georgia is now qualified to do that. I personally feel it should go federal really quickly, and there's an FBI office within like 3 hours. So, I'm guessing is already there. Like, hi, files, please.
Yeah.
But hi, I'll take all your files because y'all are incompetent. So, but this is the point of going. It's like, okay, where's God in this? And as Christians, what do we do in these cases? Because they do come up from time to time. I don't think they're a statistical norm, but that doesn't mean they aren't a tragedy. This is a tragedy. Yeah, it is a tragedy through and through in every direction. It is an absolute tragedy it got to this point. It's an absolute tragedy that there's that amount of animosity built up in a person's heart. It's a travesty this person died, but our goal as Christians is to be the light of Christ in times of darkness, and this is a chance to proclaim gospel to people that they needed the most.
Right.
I think the first part, I mean, we were talking about this beforehand. The idea of justice is tricky for Christians,
right?
Because I mean, the biblical commands to pursue justice are pretty clear throughout the Old and the New Testament. I mean, even in Isaiah 1, 16 through 17, it tells us, wash yourselves, make yourselves clean, remove the evil of your deeds from before my eyes. Stop doing evil. Learn to do good. Seek justice. Correct oppression. Bring justice to the fatherless. Justice to the fatherless, and plead the widow's cause. I mean, it's pretty clear in there that the job of those following in faith is to speak up on behalf of those that can't speak and care over those that are being harmed, and to seek justice. And if the things everyone's interpreting through this are correct, then there's been a massive injustice that has occurred, and we are to, for one, in our own deeds, to pursue being clean in the eyes of God, and then to seek justice. And in this case, to do that, it means stepping up. It means contacting the proper people to make the changes that they need to occur. And if a thing is unjust, then as Christians we are called to stand against that thing. And that's been clear. People have died because of that, but they've been pleased to die because of that, because they stood up against an injustice, because it was God in that directing them towards that. Right. But I mean, you kind of brought up a few good points about justice, though, and just the tricky aspect of that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. And I mean, it's just hard to decipher sometimes, and that's why, I mean, we have verses like this, that tell us. And I mean, there's questions we can ask ourselves, like, I mean, what does the Bible say? Yeah. And really just following that and just deciphering, like, because I feel like this one's really not that tricky out of some, and yeah, it's just
tricky and messy. Like this one's messy. I would agree. I don't think it's that tricky. I think it's messy, though.
Yeah.
There's too many connected pieces involved for a system that's supposed to be impartial. But I know earlier we had been talking, though, and kind of you brought up a good point about that. Christians asking for justice, we need to do in kind of a humble manner because of the grace we've been given.
Right.
So tell me more about that. I mean, that was a really interesting thing I hadn't really thought about today, even though I probably should have.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, that's where it gets tricky, is that, who are we to throw the stones when we, in the eyes of God, are just as guilty with our sin. And I think that where the difference comes in is, I feel like there are consequences on earth that still, like, I don't think it's in our power to. Right. This is where I feel like I'm kind of lazy sometimes, in the sense that, like, I believe that God is going to do what He wants to happen, whether it seems different and it causes a chain of reactions. But, like, I mean, I think that God is going to do whatever it is, but there are times like this where it is evident, and like that verse says, that we need to stand up against what is unjust. And thank goodness we have the ability to do that in America. And, yeah, I mean, I think that I'll just go ahead and read this verse. Romans 12:19 through 21 is another good kind of weighing in on this. It says, "Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, 'Vengeance is mine, I will repay,' says the Lord. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For by doing so, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good."
Yeah, so kind of the point that you brought up too, that I've been chewing on for the past few hours, is like, if I'm asking that God be just, then there is a sense that I'm being very hypocritical in the process. Absolutely. Because I'm asking that God treat this person according to their deeds, but please, for everything good in the world, don't treat me according to my deeds. And that's it's a hard. I still think it needs to be prayed, and that needs to be our cry to God, but we have to come at it in a humble manner,
right?
Because we experience this massive amount of grace based on the gospel. We experience this massive amount of grace that we are asking, in a sense, to to not. I mean, and I don't even think that's a fair description of it. Do you know what I mean? It's
Right, because I think
I'm
that...
not being fair to it, but that is a bit of it.
Like, God... You know, for me, it's hard to decipher when these verses are talking about the thing that truly matters, which is God's grace and forgiveness of sins.
Right.
That we may have everlasting life to live with Him. And with earthly circumstances like this.
It's talking about the temporal or the eternal.
Right.
But I think based on Romans, it's a bit of both. I mean,
right.
It is this temporal, eternal aspect of I am living in eternity starting now, and I need to treat people in the way Christ treated us. And that isn't that their actions, they're never accountable to them. It's that in an ultimate kind of a sense, God's judgment goes long before ours. And is... You know, our job in this is to extend the gospel to everybody that is participating in this, to the parents of Ahmaud, to the community, to his friends, to everybody else. That's, you know, our job is to extend the gospel of grace to them, but also to the people that chased him down in a truck and shot him. And this is probably the hardest of all of it, is our job is still to give them the gospel of grace.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, I mean, not trying to hold them accountable, but understanding that I am not the instrument of God's wrath.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the best way to say it. I'm the instrument
of God's grace. I am not the instrument of God's wrath.
Right.
Which is just goes against every single instinct in most people, because it's, you kind of watch this stuff kind of go on and think that man needs to be killed. It's like, well, no, because then I've become the thing I hate.
Right.
If I do the thing they did to the other person, then I've become them, and I've made them him, and that's not any better. That's just the constant giving in to anger and feeling as if, well, I'm owed things and I'm angry and I'm giving into that anger, and it just spreads.
Right.
You know, anger, I found it is tricky and spreads quickly. And the only way to quell anger is to give grace.
Yeah, and I think that, man, like, this is... I'm trying to think, like, jail.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want these guys to die. You know, I want them to have every opportunity to hear the gospel.
Right.
Like it says in Romans. I mean, that's going to be heaping coals on his head. You know, that's switching clearly from what he did. It's switching everything in his views to something that is the opposite of what he believes. And so, hearing the gospel, having someone love them despite of what they did, I mean, I think that is good. And the question is jail, is that helpful to them hearing the gospel, or is it unhelpful? And me personally, I think that it is. And I don't know if I'm unique in this, but like, I think having to serve time reminds you, I mean, it's the purpose of jail. It reminds you what you did is wrong, and that's why you're in here.
Right.
And I think the moment they begin to realize that there's consequences for what you believe that's wrong, which is racism, the closer they get to the gospel, if that makes sense. So, I mean, that's really, I would say, the reason behind my motivation. Like, if this was us sentencing them to death, then I'd have a completely different view.
Yeah. But we've
we've
kind of gone over that one too. Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. So I was thinking through that Romans passage too, just the trying to being kind and graceful towards an enemy is the same as taking burning coals and putting it on their head. And I'm like, so probably the worst I've ever felt personally, and scope here is very different, but the worst that I've ever felt is when I was being a jerk, like intentionally being a jerk to somebody, and they chose to say, hey, I know that you're kind of upset or angry, but I still care about you. And that, man, if you want to talk about, I can't win that argument at that point.
Right.
Like if I was trying to goad them into anger, to be honest, I know the thing I'm thinking about. I was trying to goad them into being angry because I knew if it got down into an argument or a screaming match or any of that I got it in the bag. I know how to do that. I'm not. I don't like that I can do it, but if I can get them there, then I can win. Mm-hmm. By not doing that and just pointing out that, hey, you are sinful. These are the sins, and I love you. And I'm still going to be back tomorrow. We're still going to be friends tomorrow and all that. That is the worst I have ever felt. And some of the most grace I have ever experienced that has impacted me to this day of like, okay, don't do that. I mean, even if it was just to say like, don't do that to people because that's jacked up. That was the heap of burning coals. And then in a few of these other cases that I think we might have talked about, one of them, a mom goes over and gives a hug to her son's killer. I mean, what do you think is going through the killer's mind at that point to get a hug out of the mother, say like, please find God in jail? Because I don't hold anything against
what case
you.
was that?
It was a few years ago or something. The I think it was either the brother or the mom or something said like, find God in jail because I don't hold anything against you, brother, but I know that God's grace is greater than anything that you could do. And I'm just like, that's hard. I mean, that's an amount of strength inside of a person that to be honest, I don't know. I do not know if I have that amount of strength to do that to someone.
Right.
And I mean, that's just full on honest on that one. I don't know if I'm strong enough.
It's so absurd that like I remember the reactions that the world kind of had to that, and of course people who weren't Christians were like, no. I mean, that's not how you...
Some of the Christians were even like, no.
Yeah.
And that was the most upsetting. And
that's how you kind of see that, how radical that is. I mean, and I think that I view this kind of as like, when you're a kid and you get a spanking, like that taught me early on that there's consequences for my actions. Right. Whether it was intentional or not. I mean, there's consequences. And so I think that through that, I think that it taught me that my sin has consequences too, even more so than the Bible did too. I mean, and I think it just becomes very real. So that's why, like, I feel like jail is a good thing. Sure. And there's great prison ministries out there. And so I hope, that they find God. And I don't, but like, it's like we said, it's tricky, but I do think that justice is making them go to jail. Absolutely.
Now, but the Christian perspective on this, though, because this is the time for Christians to be the light in the darkness, because there's a lot of angry and a lot of hurting people that we have to stand with those people, mourn with them, but do it in a way that is God honoring. So, I mean, props. I'm going to start off and give props to the protests. I think the protests have been going on for 2 days now in Glynn County. They've been going on for 2 days, and they are peaceful protests. They're not they're not committing other crimes to say crimes are bad. They're not doing any of those things. These are peaceful protests, but boy howdy are they protests. There are many people out there, and the numbers are only increasing as time is going on. So stay with peaceful protests. Absolutely. This has been a debate even going back to MLK and Malcolm X. I mean, that was a big kind of debate that they differed on, that MLK was all about the peaceful protests and is okay taking beatings, is okay doing that, and Malcolm X's approach was more of a violent, a militant type of a thing, and people honored MLK because of his ability to stand up against oppression, to seek justice, and also not cave in to the anger that is building, and even to quell some of it down. To say it is more important to praise God through this and be Christ in this, even though I'm upset and angry. So props for peaceful protests. Keep doing that, even on Facebook. Careful the things that you say, because this is still an opportunity that the world is staring at Christians going like, okay, now how are they handling it?
Yeah.
Because if I go on and say, well, we just need to go take that man and shoot him too. Well, that's the point, that if Christ did that to us, we would all be in a lot of trouble.
Right.
Romans is clear on that. Wages of sin is death. And so if Christ had said, well, let's give them the thing they earned, there isn't a single person that doesn't end up in hell. And even dragging out a woman caught in adultery, the thing that kind of stuck out to me the last time I had gone through it, it was that of everybody there was actually one person there that could have thrown the first stone.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus is standing there. I don't know, if I were Jesus, I'd even be holding a stone, just kind of like throwing it up and catching it, like, where's your accusers?
Yeah.
And then just like put it down, like, I'm not accusing either, so now go sin no more.
Yeah.
But to be cautious of speaking or to condemn people, be cautious to not condemn people in this process, but extend grace in a very difficult time, and people are going to hate you for that, but do it anyway.
Right. And I mean, I'm proud of like the way, like you said, people have been handling it, and I feel like this is the first time in a long time that we all have pretty much the same view on something, and like the first time of just a clean standing up against racial injustice.
Right.
And it's kind of refreshing.
Right.
And I think that, I mean, a lot of people, including myself, sometimes like to just brush it away as a problem nowadays.
Yeah.
When it is still very relevant. And I think that, hopefully this could be the first step to some healing. I mean, the fact that everyone is willing to take on, a state government that is being kind of, shady about this. Yeah. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That it's not only just about, those two men and what they did to him, but about more than that.
Right.
In the sense that, it seems like we said, there's not really, it's still an ongoing thing. Right. And not all the facts are out yet, but from what it seems like, we're willing to take on.
Right.
Right.
And it's like, personally, I don't take on these kinds of stances if I don't feel somewhat confident in the information I have.
Yeah.
I am a give me more information guy.
Yeah.
Because if it happens in 2 hours and people are picking sides, it's like, nah, I need more information. I'm sorry. This 2 months, we have information. I think now's the time. Like, cool. Now we have that information all of us are waiting for. Now it's time to get in there.
Yeah.
and even if stuff comes out, I still don't feel as if it's going to be enough to overturn what it is I saw.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, when we've had a few conversations about a race off camera, and I hope this is okay to bring up, but like, one thing the white community doesn't tend to often understand well is that the distrust that the African American community does have against government and that kind of thing is based in fact, and it's based in history, and that history isn't even far off.
Yeah.
MLK, all them, they were like, what, I want to say 1950s, 1960s.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there are people still alive that to them, it's not a history. It's not a thing they brought up in class. It's a story they experienced. They watched people get the hoses turned on them. They had to sit in the back of the bus. They had to do these things.
Right.
To them, this is a memory. Even the whole idea of cops walking the beat does carry this racial undertone of what it is they were trying to do. And I feel as if the white community a lot of times tends to stand behind statistical data and not understand that there are memories and stories of this occurred to grandma, or this occurred to this person that I have talked to that was unjust, and their feelings, their understanding of that, even if I don't agree on their conclusion in a statistical manner, we still need to mourn with them in order to be the gospel to them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's so true that like that's just like you said, it's stories that their grandma told.
Right. Right.
And I think even for a lot of us in the white community, like, we should know this because, I mean, I'm going to be vague about this, but like even our grandparents, including mine, are still trying to overcome the racism that was just normal back then. Right. And I mean, I think even John Piper, I was listening to something he said, like, that was just, that was a thing, like, that you grew up and that's what you were taught,
Right, the verbiage has changed.
Right. And like sometimes it'll still slip with, some people, like some older people, and, they have to keep themselves accountable in that. Yeah. And so like that's where I kind of, something that's always stuck to me is that, that this is a very real thing that wasn't that long ago. Yeah. And even more so for them because they're the ones that were feeling the pain, and it's something that I hope we're on the way to, forgiveness and
reconciliation.
Yes, there's a word. I was like, what is the word?
that was actually gosh, I put out a blog article that was on the church that talked about a unity that did kind of get into this before any of this blew up, but for the church to be the church, we have to put down our qualifiers of I am a blank Christian. Like, no, you are a Christian first. There's neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, anything else. Above all, this is the body of Christ coming together, and a chunk of the body of Christ is in pain, and if they're in pain, according to 1 Corinthians, if this part of the body hurts, then the whole body is hurting, period. And if that part is hurting, then I have to deal with that hurt, or it's going to affect the entire body together. Right. And I do think, though, it's time to put down our qualifiers: a Christian, a white Christian, Catholic and Anglican and any of these things. These qualifiers are only tearing us apart instead of bringing us together. And I appreciated the thing that I think it's the friend of Ahmaud actually is quoted in a few different articles as, it's not about one race. We're all a community, and we see this as a tragedy to the community. It's not about black and white. We can't make this about race. It's about what's right and wrong and what happened. And I think this thing, it's going to be easy to try and turn this into a racial thing. And this isn't a racial thing. It's an injustice thing that does carry racial undertones. But if this is just a thing that the black community needs to face on their own, then as Christians, based on everything I know about Scripture, we have failed in this mission. Period. Full stop.
Yeah.
If it's just like, well, they're going to handle that because that's a them issue. Well, that's not how the body of Christ works.
Yeah. Yeah. Straight up.
Sorry, I'm jazzed up right now.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, like I said before, I think it's super encouraging amongst the tragedy. I mean, but I think that people are doing what's right.
Yeah.
And it's encouraging to see, and I'm ready to see what the results are going to be.
Yeah. So I'm going to be following this. If we need to come back to it, we'll come back to it. But I mean, again, I don't tend to, especially publicly, in a thing that we're actively recording, tend to double. I mean, the podcast for me is my double down. On some things, it's like I've had private conversations and I'm like, nah, we're going for it.
Yeah.
This is the double down for me. So, I don't anticipate needing to walk it back, though. So, but I know this is a tragedy affecting a lot of different people. So, our prayers go out to everyone connected to this, everyone that's hurting, even if they're not even in Georgia, Brunswick, or any of that. Our prayers go out just because this is bringing up a lot of painful memories for a lot of people. So and if it's a thing that you're doing okay in, well, hey, this is kind of a good opportunity to be in prayer,
right? To
bring to God and say, God, this is jacked up and I don't understand what's going on, so be God in this place.
Yeah I mean, we would love to hear y'all's thoughts, and if there's anything you guys need prayer for, you can comment on YouTube. You can DM us at Nobody Special Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And also, there's like a little questionnaire if you go to thegospeloutpost.com/nobodyspecial. And we really just want to hear, even if it's not related to this, if you have any questions, just want to say hello. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
So, well, thanks everyone for tuning in to our podcast. It's not as jovial as some of our others. We do have a few cool things coming up, so please be sure and come on back to those, and we appreciate you making it this far even as well. But we have some fun episodes ahead that we're super stoked and excited for.
Did you just say stoked?
Am I not allowed to say stoked?
No, you're not allowed to say that.
Okay.
It's dumb.
What we're super excited for.
There you go.
Okay. Well, I'm Danny.
And I'm Caleb.
And we are Nobody Special.
Just a quick update. 15 minutes after we got done recording this episode, that had been reported that they actually sent the father and son that killed Ahmaud Arbery to jail, and that they are on their way. So
absolutely. And this is still a very kind of a sensitive issue going on in the community, so please still be in prayer. Please still be considerate and kind of this entire thing going on. But it is still, it appears as if they're starting to serve justice, and this is a good thing. Yeah, it's a good step in the right direction. Absolutely. Thanks, guys. All right, see you next time.